cheese, a term that was possibly coined by OJ. Cheese demonstrates perhaps one of the most interesting playstyles in Brawl Stars. And so, from hiding behind your own net in Brawl Ball, all the way to trapping the enemy team as Willow, today I will be showing you the complete history of cheese in Brawl Stars. We'll start off with 2019, and the key cheese for this year would be hiding behind the net in Brawl Ball. Basically, in the classic Brawl Ball mode, players would spawn behind the net composed of unbreakable walls. Given that info, it actually became popular for players to score once and then keep the ball behind their own net for the remainder of the match. The game mode would later be reworked, but that didn't matter too much because both Boss Fight and Robo Rumble had cheese strategies made that allowed players to complete Insane 16 or survive for the maximum duration. And so we'll move on to 2020, and that was a big year for cheese because it introduced gadgets. But not this one yet. Anyways, gadgets were introduced in March of 2020, which opened availability to both the Brock and Cavern Churn cheese as well as the Island Invasion cheese. So in a bit more of a detailed sense, you could basically use Brock to trap yourself in the rock formation in Cavern Churn, or you could use a combination of Colt's and El Primo's gadgets in Island Invasion to trap the enemies. 2020 also gave us Super City Rampage, and you would later see a lot of cheese strategies that would allow you to complete Insane 16 very easily. 2020 also introduced us to Sprout, and of course Sprout alone was capable of a lot of cheese strategies. This one in particular allowed you to hide from the boss in Boss Fight, but it still wasn't super effective. But either way, Sprout allowed players to selectively break walls without causing a chain reaction. The last bit of cheese we will be looking at from 2020 is of course the Nanny bow cheese. This all started in June of 2020 when Nanny was first released. This allowed Nanny users to snipe enemy brawlers from very far in every single game mode. But of course, it would be more useful in a select few. In terms of cheese, 2021 was just a bit stale, but it did introduce Club League, which came with a slightly interesting cheese strategy. Basically, since Club League matches have a lot less traffic than any other game mode, you would be able to queue up multiple players as the same brawler into your match, which would allow you to play pretty funny brawler combinations, such as 3 El Primos on the same team. This leaves us off at 2022, which helped introduce a lot of cheese to the game with the help of Jackie's rebuild gadget. We would start to see some players do ridiculous things, such as gather all the gems in Gem Grab and then trap themselves inside the walls of the map, or they could take a leading score in Bounty and then hide inside the walls for the rest of the match. Using Jackie even made its way to Brawl Ball, where players would score a goal on the other team and then trap the actual ball within the walls, preventing the other team from being able to catch up. Later on in 2022, we would see Season 14, which brought us the game mode Last Stand. And you guessed it, on its very first day of being publicly playable, players found a cheese to complete Insane 16 with, which I think was a pretty fast victory. In the summer of 2022, Otis was released, and he came with a gadget called Dormant Star. Granted, it took Otis a while for his super to actually deal damage, but by then players realized that they could just stack all 3 dormant stars on the ground, and then they would bait an enemy player to step on top of it, so they would take a large amount of damage and of course be silenced. This cheese was best done with the old bow totem, but even though it's been reworked, it's still kind of doable. 2022 also introduced the Rotten Banana gadget to Ash, and this wasn't really much of a cheese, but if you played Ash in Big Game and used the Rotten Banana gadget, you would actually lose 40% of his incredibly high HP count. And finally, at the end of 2022, Gray was released, and it didn't take players long to realize that Gray plus Jackie plus Bo in Knockout was a deadly, cheesy combination. Balance changes would soon come about to block this ability, but in its prime, you could drop a Jackie on top of the enemy team and go for a very quick team wipe. In 2023, the mind-controlling brawler Willow was introduced to Brawl Stars. And of course, on the first day of her release, I decided to take advantage of her abilities in Gem Grab. This strategy would be composed of a wall breaker, a Jackie, and Willow, and you'd be able to trap at least one enemy within the walls if you play it right. This tactic was incredibly hard to set up, but hilarious if you could pull it off. Willow also brought another cheese that you can actually use as a genuine strategy in modes such as Duo. All you need is a Willow super and a brawler like Shelly who has incredibly high up-close damage. And finally, right now in Season 19, the Takedown game mode was reintroduced into Brawl Stars. But anyways, with the right combination of damage increasing capabilities, Colette can actually one-shot the takedown boss. If you're a nerd like me, here's the damage numbers. Anyways, now we're all caught up. I apologize if I didn't cover a cheese that you were looking for, but I was trying my best to just use footage that I have. But still, I really hope you enjoyed the history of cheese in Brawl Stars. If you stuck all the way to the end, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace out.